Growing up in an Italian-American household, when you came home from school and you smelled chicken cutlets frying in your kitchen, it was basically the equivalent to hitting the Powerball. I'm going to show you just how easy it is to make these delicious, crispy cutlets. The first rookie move I see when people go to make cutlets, it's the thickness. Not all chickens were blessed with incredible breasts. The problem with cooking proteins is that not all the meat is the same size or shape, so we're going to make them the same even thickness by slicing them in half or even in thirds depending on how big these babies are, and then pounding them flat until perfect consistency. Be careful when you do this. In fact, gently move the blade and allow the weight of the knife to help slice through the breast. Watch as I press down with my left hand on the chicken and move the blade across the breast. I'm pressing so I can feel the blade through the chicken and I know exactly where my cut is being made. As you get towards the end, lift the pressure off of your hand and be careful as you finish your slice. Take your time when doing this and use a sharp knife. We're looking for about 1/4 of an inch thick here. Now to make these an even thickness, we're going to sandwich the breast between some plastic wrap. This will help keep our chicken together as we whack it thin. I'm using a heavy bottom pot here, but you can use a meat mallet or even a rolling pin if you'd like. We want the chicken to be a nice even thickness across the board. Now we want them evenly thin, to the point where you can almost see through them. This is like just barely acceptable. If you can get it thinner would be even better. Now this is a great stress reliever, so feel free to take out anything personal you got built up on these poor little birds. They'll thank you later. Now a rolling pin will work here, but I personally like the coverage we get from using a pot or a pan. It flattens it more evenly, and you could be a little more forgiving with the aggression you use. But use what you got. You'll get the hang of this rather quick. Now for our breading station. If you don't use old Dixie paper plates to build our assembly line, then my great-grandma is going to roll over in her grave. But if you have something a little bit more sustainable, then go for it, I guess. We're going to keep it real straightforward. Start with our flour, I'm using all-purpose here, and season with salt and pepper generously. Some people like to add some granulated garlic or onion or even Italian seasonings. Go for it. Customize this to whatever your little heart desires. But growing up, we didn't use that kind of stuff, so I'm just going to keep it simple. Next, we'll need a couple of eggs. Crack 3 eggs into a cup and whisk until beaten together. I add a few splashes of water in my eggs to help mix and emulsify it into a better consistency for dredging. This is optional. Okay, next grab your seasoned Italian breadcrumbs. What's up? What do you mean you don't have any? Dude, I gave you a list of groceries to get yesterday. Oh my God, again? Listen, we'll talk about this later. Do you have panko? Regular breadcrumbs? Grab your panko. Yes, grab your panko. All right, we'll go off book here. In a food processor, start with 3 cups of panko or regular seasoned breadcrumbs. I like using panko as the blade is going to further pulverize it and make it a little finer and leaves a nice contrast in texture. Next, throw a generous handful of fresh parsley in, about a cup or so. Season with salt and pepper, and then we're going to add about 1.5 to 2 cups of Parmesan cheese or Romano cheese, whatever you have in your fridge. Even grana will do fine too. Lastly, mix and pulverize until everything comes together nicely. And boom, fresh seasoned breadcrumbs. These will stay fresh in an airtight container in your fridge for about 2 weeks or so, but again, I'd use them a little sooner than that. By the way, notice how we eyeball all of this. It's a dredging station. Don't make it more complicated than it is. Now that we have all of our mise en place out, we can begin the great dance that is the chicken dredge. Now if you want to use a fork, go ahead, but if you want to be a pro, use your hands. Keep one hand for wet and one hand for dry, and you'll do just fine. Start by rolling the chicken in the flour. This will help the eggs adhere better. Give it a nice shake and dust off any excess flour, as too much will start clumping up your egg mix. Next, a quick dip in the eggs to get all nice and sticky. Be sure it is covered in eggs from tip to end to ensure your entire chicken is evenly coated. Allow the chicken to drip of any excess egg. Using the water to ensure an even consistency will help here with the eggs from getting too clumpy. Then, lastly, into our seasoned, beautiful fresh breadcrumbs. Push the chicken into the breading to really form a nice coating. Flip the chicken and then do the same to the other side. We're going to keep these on a parchment-lined sheet pan until we are ready to fry. Do not stack your chicken on top of each other while it is just breaded. We're going the extra mile here to ensure a nice crust. So don't shake off and stack your chicken, as they could stick to each other and screw up this entire process. You're going to want to repeat this every single step for the entirety of all of our chicken. As you can see here, every inch perfectly and evenly covered. Nailed it. Now that all of our chicken is evenly breaded, we can fry these bad boys up. You can use a skillet, although I like a cast iron as it will hold a nice even heat. I added a generous amount of canola oil here. We want about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch thick on the bottom of our pan. Opt for canola or vegetable as it has a better smoking point and doesn't impart too much flavor or grease into our breading like olive oil will. But if olive is all you have, just go lighter on the amount you use. You'll have to clean and wipe the pan out in between cutlets because it is going to burn faster, so using less oil will save you time and money in the long run if this is your only option. Anyway, heat the pan to medium and then you can drop your chicken in. Always drop away from you to avoid splatter. I like to evenly press our cutlets down as soon as they go in to make sure nothing is getting underneath them so it has a nice even browning. Sometimes when the oil is bubbling too much, it will actually lift the chicken cutlet from the bottom of the pan. I adjusted the height here so you can kind of see into my pan a little bit more. Since this is our first cutlet, it isn't quite browning as nicely or evenly as we want, but the oil is just getting a nice chance to get hot all around. Our second cutlet will look much different that you will see in just a moment. Notice again how I dropped it away from myself to avoid that oil splatter. Very crucial, we don't want you burning yourself. And then lightly press all around to ensure that the chicken is completely even on the bottom of our pan, getting a nice crust. Allow these to drip over some paper towels on a cooling rack to keep the bottoms crispy, and of course, as anything comes out of the oil, season with salt. Now, charred lemons is a trick I usually use for grilled vegetables or seafood, but I saw Christian Petroni put them with his chicken cutlets, and that was a pretty boss move, so we're going to take a quick page out of his book. In a nice dry pan on medium-high, char your lemons cut side down for about 2 minutes. They'll start to get all soft and bubbly, but crust with a beautiful charred glaze on the bottom. The tartness becomes sweet, and some of that bitterness escapes. It's a really lovely garnish to bring these babies home. Now, if we had to admire our chicken cutlets, look at how perfectly even the thickness is all around on these bad boys. Nice golden brown, a little dusting of kosher salt. Pfft, you nailed it, big guy. Hats off to you. Strategically place your chicken cutlets down, obviously 3 per serving if you're like myself. Garnish with some fresh, lovely parsley. Your beautiful caramelized charred lemons. And there you have it. One of the best dinners I can recall growing up that just screams nostalgia for me. Mama would be proud. Crispy. They smell so good. If you don't think these things smell good, do you remember how much Parmesan cheese we put in the breading? Now imagine that caramelizing and frying in a pan. Yeah, it's that good. Break it up with some of that acidity. Perfect even thickness. Perfect crispiness. You nailed it, big guy. Eat these guys plain like so, or douse them in hot sauce. Cover them in mozzarella marinara for the perfect Parmesan. Keep them on deck for salads or late night sandwiches, or eat them cold straight out of the fridge like Dad used to do. Keep this recipe on hand and it will never let you down. Till next time, friends, stay hungry.